The entire world already knows who Lionel Messi is. Obviously, we just witnessed the 2022 World Cup, which was held in Qatar, brings everybody together who he is. And man, this man has done it all. The only thing that he was missing is in his resume was a World Cup. He finally got that under his belt. But a lot of learning, a lot of struggles, obviously, that he had to go through. That's what I want to share with you. What's going on, everyone? Thank you once again for coming back to our channel Through Failure and Success, where we share to you some of the most successful stories that we have encountered, some of the most iconic failures that we have encountered as well. But this is the purpose of our channel, to share with you and to entertain you as much as we can as well, and through what we have gone through in our personal lives, but also not just ourselves, but some of the most successful and iconic stories that you probably have heard of in the past. And today I want to talk to you about who is Lionel Messi. Now, all of you, I guarantee that the whole world and the entire world already knows who Lionel Messi is. Obviously, we just witnessed the 2022 World Cup, which was held in Qatar. And many of you and this is what the World Cup does, okay? It brings everybody together. And if you've never heard of soccer, like they call it here in the United States, but the real name of it is football. If you never heard of football, you think of football, American football, right? Dallas Cowboys, the LA Rams, and the Oakland Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders now. But football is actually one of the most iconic, the most worldwide known sports outside of the United States that is played, and it's called football. And we just witnessed one of the greatest, if not the greatest game in the history of the World Cup final. We saw, obviously, France against Argentina. Argentina ended up being, obviously, the champion, a three-time world champion. But man, what a game. What an iconic game. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Who is Lionel Messi and the accomplishments that he has accomplished throughout his career? Because before we got to 2022, but a lot of learning, a lot of struggles, obviously, that he had to go through. And so that's what I want to share with you. So let's dive into it. But who is Lionel Messi? Well, Lionel Messi, as you may or may not know, he was born in Argentina, actually. He was born in Argentina. I believe the city is called Rosario, Argentina. He migrated to Spain, actually, in 20 when he was 13 years old. He migrated to Spain when he was 13 years old. So he actually was born in Argentina, but his parents migrated to Spain. Now, Lionel Messi is one of the most decorated footballers that has ever played the game. And he has 7 Ballon d'Ors, which is the award for the best player of the year. And he has multiple championships with Barcelona, European League championships that he has won. And so I really don't know how many he's got, but I was doing a little bit of research about him, who he is. And man, this man has done it all. The only thing that he was missing is in his resume was a World Cup. He finally got that under his belt. With many were saying that he's the greatest of all time. He's the GOAT. With or without the World Cup, they were considering him the greatest of all time for all Argentinian fans, because he was often compared to Maradona. Diego Armando Maradona was actually one of the greatest players of all time as well in the history of football, but also in the history for Argentina. And he was always overshadowed by Diego Armando Maradona, who actually won the World Cup in 1986. Now, a quick fact, 1978 was the first time Argentina won the first World Cup. 1986 was the second time. In 1978, actually, Maradona was 17 years old. He was actually denied a position with the country club of Argentina, because the coach said that he was too young, and obviously it was the right decision because Argentina ended up winning the World Cup. 1986, fast forward 8 years later, he's 25, 26 years old. This man did it all. And there's actually a game where he scores one of the goals against England, where they end up winning the game, where they advance to I believe the semifinals or the finals, where the game is called the Hand of God. That's the play that they called it, where he actually goes for the ball against the goalie, but instead of scoring with the head, He scored with the hand. Back then, there was no technology like there is today. If it would have been today's game, the game has changed differently. If many of you saw during the World Cup, you saw this VAR, virtual replay, where you see the play and then it stops, and then all of a sudden it turns to a virtual reality type of replay where they can spot whether a player is an offside or where they committed a foul, whatever that is. What my point is that goal would have probably been annihilated. It would probably have been taken out of the board if it was in today's game. But that's besides the point. Maradona was one of the greatest players of all time that have ever put on those clicks and that have ever kicked the ball. And that is the bottom line. Now, the other player to recognize, and I'm saying all of these names because it is important to know who all these players are for you to understand at what caliber Messi is. Maradona actually won one World Cup in 1990. Actually, he made it again to the World Cup final, but they ended up losing against Germany. Ironically, they won the 1986 World Cup against, you guessed it, Germany. In 1986, 1990, they face each other back to back. So that is very iconic. Now, aside from that, there is another player that I want to share with you, and you may not, or you may have heard of his name, but the great Pelé. Pelé is actually a Brazilian footballer that actually played in the 1950s, 1960s, and he actually has three World Cups. The first one, he was, I believe, 17, 18 years old. The second one, that's when he basically dominated the entire World Cup. And then the third one, I believe, now Pelé is from Brazil, Maradona is from Argentina, Messi is from Argentina. So now you say, well, Argentina, Brazil, heavy champions, the heavy players in the game of football, and it actually is true. But they are the heavy players, the two heavy countries actually in the continent of South America, because you got obviously the teams in France, Germany, Spain, Italy that have done it all. But the point of this is that this player, Messi, has just accomplished something remarkable. Out of all those accomplishments that he has already accomplished, the only thing that was missing in his resume was the World Cup. Now, back in 2014, go back 8 years ago, 2014, Messi made it to the World Cup final, and ironically, it was against Germany again. There's minutes left, 0-0. We go to overtime, 0-0. Then after that, we go to extra time. First 50 was surfing during this last couple of days where Messi is looking at the World Cup as he's getting his medal from second place. He's passing by the World Cup and he's looking at the cup. And then actually today, just a couple of days ago, you see him actually holding the cup, kissing the cup. So that to me is very iconic because you go 8 years later and you actually accomplish something big that most people would have probably given up by trying the first time. And after you try the first time, you probably never get to that level again. So for Messi to take his entire team of Argentina 8 years later, at the age of 35, where most players are pretty much done with their careers, is pretty remarkable. And he's still in his prime. He's still showing signs that he has a couple more years left in the tank. Now, but before we get to all of that, obviously Messi grew up in Spain, but there was a lot of teams that passed on, that passed them. One of them was actually going to be Barcelona. He played for Barcelona for over 20 years up until just last year. He was let go, and he was almost passed out by them because of his stature. He had growth hormone deficiency. Now, this is a disease that is very common in between men and women where the person doesn't grow as much. Now, according to what I read, the life insurance or the insurance from the dad actually covered him for only 2 years. After those 2 years, he was pretty much was not covered. He had to get injected some hormones in order for him to grow. Eventually, Barcelona picked him up, and at 17 years old, 18 years old, he was one of the youngest players that had ever started for the club. In 2020, he was the second footballer and the second team sport athlete. Okay, this is according to Forbes magazine, to surpass the $1 billion in career earnings. Okay. This is after many, many years of him being passed on by multiple teams when he was younger, when he was smaller, and a team decides to take a gamble on him. And obviously, after the gamble, many teams wanted to go after him. This is remarkable. The level of accomplishment that he was able to get by surpassing all of those after many teams had already passed on him because of his stature. So now, I don't know how true is this, but according to what I read as well, the contract that Messi signed actually before he was drafted onto Barcelona, the manager supposedly he ran out of paper. There was no paper because nobody wanted to back him. But the club was given an ultimatum: you either sign or we take Messi to another club. Now, think of this. This is 20 years ago, 19 years ago, whatever the year was, before all of his World Cup accomplishments, money, fame, wife, kids, beautiful family that he's got. This is a young 17-year-old man, okay, and he was about to be passed on by Barcelona, which is one of the greatest football teams in any league in the world. And the coach pulls out a napkin and says, "This is the contract. Sign here." And that the rest is history. But that was how initially his contract was drafted. So the piece of napkin, it is how he was drafted onto the team of Barcelona, where obviously he went on to win multiple championships, and the rest is history. The rest is history. He had won so many championships with the club, so many golden shoes, so many Ballon d'Ors. The thing that was missing in his resume, as I was saying to you earlier, it was not only the World Cup, but also Copa America. Copa America, it's a tournament that is held in South America. There's only 10 teams in South America. So usually the United States, Mexico, they get invited to play for the Copa America. And he has been to multiple of them. And I believe it's held every 2 years, every 3 years. And he attended many of them, many finals from 2010 all the way up until last year. And every time he went to the finals, they've always lost up until last year with the new coach, Lionel Scaloni, I believe is his name. He takes over the club and turns them into a championship of Copa America. Now, a year and a half later, he turns the team into a World Cup champion. What I want to share with you, for me, what I get from that is just the ability to. Messi is one of the most humble men you'll ever meet, and the ability to stay humble like that and still get all of these accomplishments. Okay, still get all of these accomplishments. But there's so many times that we persevere, which is one of the things that Messi has. It's perseverance. We're just gonna keep on trying until it's either I do it, I find a way, or I make the way, or we make it happen in any way that we possibly can. And for me, that is very remarkable. Just the perseverance, the the ability to stay humble throughout, even after billions, okay, the billion, hundreds of millions of dollars that you made in your career. You surpassed the $1 billion mark. He's been sponsored from Adidas since 2006. Sponsorships, this is heavy money that we're talking about, and the ability to stay humble like that and still be able to connect with the fans, the country, be an inspiration. You go to Argentina. There was a video that was surfacing the web where the reporter is telling Messi, "Hey," in Spanish, whatever happens tomorrow after the World Cup or no World Cup, you are the champion. You are the greatest one that has ever played. There is no kid, no child that doesn't have your jersey, the original, the fake one or imaginary one. Think about it. There's kids. I was one of them growing up where I had a shirt and I would just write the name 10 Ronaldo, the original Ronaldo from Brazil. That was one of my favorite players growing up. And just the inspiration, because this is a man who has been able to transmit that to millions and millions of people around the world. And again, the money, the fame, the success never changed him. And this is just a true example of what a leader does. And just stay true to just stay true to yourself. You're eventually going to persevere and eventually going to achieve what you're really after. And so that is where that is truly inspiring for me. That a man from that caliber, who has a wife, who has three beautiful children, and still none of that has changed him. He's still the same humble person that has ever been throughout his career, and money didn't change you. That is very, very remarkable, and that's something that it highlights, just the entire career from Lionel Messi, and who he really is as an individual in the sport of football. That there was a lot of belief, okay? Because if I believe that that is my ultimate goal, that's what I want to achieve, eventually I'm going to succeed. But it all starts with the belief in the head, because things get created twice. They get created in the head, and then they get created in real life. There's actually a video as well where he's maybe 13, 12 years old, and someone is asking him, hey, what's your dream? My dream is to play for Barca. Barca is Barcelona. That's what they call him. My dream is to play for them. This is at 12, 13 years old. Okay. He had a dream, just like Martin Luther King. I have a dream. Okay. You create that in your head, you create that in your brain, and then therefore you create it, you bring it into existence, you bring it to life. And so that is really what I want to highlight out of all of this, because it is remarkable, it is outstanding, what the sport of soccer, of football, how we call it here in the United States, soccer, but the sport of football, what it does to you. My son, who's 10 years old, he's actually already inspired, and he has a Messi shirt, and he's already asking me to go take him to go train him. And obviously, I grew up playing the sport. I was really good at it at one point, but I never played professional, never played for a club. Just lost the dream. I got caught up in life, and I never pursue my dream. But I now I see my son, turning into what an inspiration, what Messi has done for him at 10 years old. And so that's not only is he doing that for my son, but I mean, he's doing it for many other children around the world, especially for his country, Argentina, where there's a lot of poverty, I'm assuming. And you got children who can barely afford a jersey, a shirt, and they're using an imaginary one, which is a beautiful dream, a beautiful thing to experience. If you have not experienced, let me tell you, I have experienced it, where I did my family didn't have the money to buy me the shirt, the one that I wanted. So I had to write it in the back with a pen or a Sharpie, whatever I could find, tape sometimes. And I would put number 10 because that was my favorite player, Ronaldo, who actually I consider him to be one of the best footballers of all time as well, along with Maradona, Pelé, now the great Messi, or Messiah, like they named him. But that's what I wanted to share with you, just a little bit of history of the sport. And the World Cup has actually been around. The very first World Cup actually was held in 1930, and I think it was held in Uruguay, in which eventually the host nation. This World Cup is held every 4 years, and man, we're excited because the World Cup is actually coming up to the United States, Canada, and Mexico actually in 2026, and we cannot wait for that one because it's going to be a big one. Let me tell you, the amount of the young generation, the ones that are 10 years old, 8 years old, who got to experience this today, this last couple of weeks that we have been experiencing. It's just, this is what it does. It just brings the whole world together. And in times like this that we're facing now, this is what we needed. We needed everyone to come together, to be inspired. Now I go to the park and I see children with their dads, their family, coaches, training kids. And this is what the World Cup does. And I love it because it's such a big sport around the world that impacts everyone around the world. Okay. United States is not the biggest country when it comes to this sport, but it's the biggest when it comes to basketball and American football. That is for certain, and other sports as well. The Olympics, we're always taking gold medals, but when it comes to football, we have never been champions. But I believe that in 2026, the United States is going to be one of the teams that is going to have a deep run into the World Cup, because this generation now of footballers that are actually active now, most of them are playing in the European League, and when you play in the European League, you actually that is where you want to be. That is actually where you play. Ironically, Spain, Italy, Germany, France, all this big Manchester United, England, where all the heavy players, they go and play. They develop great players. And you don't go to Brazil, you don't go to Argentina, even those are the countries that are heavy in the sport, there's really not a lot of good teams that play in the country. Those players that are born in that country, they go play elsewhere. So it just goes to show you the amount of talent that is being, just developed out to Europe. But I believe that the United States, because of the amount of players that has been deployed to the European leagues, now that they're in this era now, you're going to see a deep run coming into 2026, and I'm excited for that. So I just wanted to share with you a little bit of history about who Lionel Messi is, and also actually the Argentina history as well, because I believe that with this win, I still think Pelé, it's the greatest of all time. But that is just my personal take. I put Messi as second, then Ronaldo, either Ronaldo, Maradona at third place, but one of those two. But I still take Pelé over Messi. I believe that Messi has accomplished a lot in today's sport. I think it's very hard now to get the amount of accomplishments that he's been able to get. But I mean, for me personally, and I could be wrong statistically or whatever, but just the connection that I had with Pelé, not growing up during those times, but just the emotion the inspiration that he put into me when I was a child. I believe in the three World Cups that he's got under his belt makes him the greatest of all time. So I believe that he's still the greatest of all time. I put Messi in second, but I wanted to share with you a little bit of history about just the World Cup and what it really is and how it brings the world together. But through all of that, the accomplishments that Lionel Messi was able to bring and the experiences that we were able to experience this last couple of days, because it's astronomical and it's pretty big. And so I just want to make sure that you understand that, hey, when you believe in something and you stick to that, there's actually going to be a lot of great things that are going to happen. And you might say, you know what, I don't get it. I keep doing it over and over, and I just don't get the result. Well, you know what? Keep doing it, because eventually, what you're doing, you're not putting yourself, you're not burying yourself. You're planting yourself, so that therefore you can bloom. Okay, and that is what I see when I hear the story of Messi back in 2014. He didn't bury himself, he planted himself, so that therefore he can bloom 8 years later. And this is what the beautiful story and all successes are. It's not a by tomorrow, it's not by next year. It could be, but look at how long it took him, 8 years. And all the money, fame, success, all the awards, this is the thing that was missing under his belt. He wrapped it up as one of the greatest of all time. So I wanted to share that with you. May you take away some value. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, feel free to share this video with anybody that you think that maybe you need a little bit of wisdom today, because with today's society, we all need a little bit of wisdom. I need a little bit of wisdom. But I'm always coming over here every week so that I can share with you some of the greatest takeaways that I get from learning from other success and other people's failures as well, and how it makes them better in life and anything that they do with themselves. Until then, we'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.